This episode is brought to you by Pure Energy Apothecary, a woman-owned skincare and wellness brand founded by my friend Dawn Lancaster. Dawn and I go way back, deep diving into essential oils. We shared a passion for creating intentional products, just like the ones Dawn continues to craft today with Pure Energy Apothecary. When Dawn said she wanted to offer you 20% off Pure Energy products, I was thrilled. Pure Energy products are handmade in Vermont with ingredients you can pronounce, and they smell amazing. They are rooted in real aromatherapy. Visit pureenergyvt.com and use the code PURECHANGE for 20% off just for being a part of the Change Happened community. Pure products, pure purpose, pure energy. Welcome to Change Happened, Then What? Where in Season 2, you'll hear voices drawn here by one thing: change. Each episode brings you a story of hope, unpolished and unfiltered, where stories got messy, where people questioned everything, but also where they found a way forward. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find your own next steps in their words. Because when life breaks open, that's often when the most beautiful truths finally have room to grow. I'm your host, Heather Holt, and I am so happy to have you here today. Hey there, if you answered donut to last week's Change Challenge question, you were absolutely right, and your name has been entered into this month's giveaway. The drawing will be held on December 16th, and the winner gets to choose either a super soft tee or a cozy Change Happened trucker hat. Remember, stay tuned until the very end of today's episode for this week's Change Challenge question. You can submit your answer anytime at changehappenedpodcast.com. Today's story is going to be a different kind of story. Not the kind where someone grows up in poverty or survives a childhood marked by trauma. In fact, Trent will be the first to tell you that he was raised by an amazing family, one that taught him values, kindness, and integrity. And yet, even with all of that, there was something in him from a young age that didn't quite make sense. A pull, a calling, this quiet, persistent desire to help people deeply, directly, and compassionately. He doesn't know exactly where it came from. It wasn't modeled in any real dramatic way. Wasn't born out of personal struggle or chaos. It was just there, like he arrived with that wiring already installed. But here's the thing about life. Sometimes you can be walking confidently in one direction, thinking you know who you are and what your future looks like, and then someone you trust, someone you look up to, can pull the rug right out from under you so hard that everything you thought you knew shatters. That happened to Trent. That moment could have broken him. Instead, it rerouted him. He took that shock and betrayal and turned it into something extraordinary. A mission to help thousands of people rise out of addiction and reclaim their lives. And he's nowhere near done. The minute I heard his story, I knew I had to tell it. Today, I'm introducing you to Trent, a man on a mission to save as many lives as he can.
You know, I did have a fantastic upbringing. Great parents. My parents did get divorced when I was a freshman in high school, which obviously was tough then, but I never resorted to drugs or anything like that. My parents never did. In fact, my parents rarely ever even cussed or drank in front of me, and definitely didn't until I was older, probably getting into high school or middle school before they did. So I did have a great upbringing. They definitely instilled, and I have an older brother, they instilled in my brother and I to be respectful and care for people, and somehow, some way, that transformed into, well, I want to really care for people and not just care about people, but I do like to take care of someone else. It does make me feel good when I can make someone else feel good. I think when you couple that with the fact that as a kid, I was a little nerdy, if you will. You know, I like to read and I like to really dig into history and science. I've always been that way, which has turned out to be fantastic. It's turned into a strength for me. But as a kid, yeah, you know, I didn't get picked on by any means, but, you know, labeled as a nerd. I think that I took my love for science, the human body, caring for people, and put that together, and somehow that translated into, hey, I want to become a nurse. So I went to school for undergrad at Texas Tech University, graduated, and actually started working at Baylor Hospital, which is one of the number one hospitals in Dallas, even in the state of Texas. So the level 1 trauma center, we got all kinds of gnarly stuff coming through. It was very exciting.
Right out of college, Trent landed at one of the most respected hospitals in Texas, Baylor University Medical Center in Dallas. Right out of the gate, he was working at a level 1 trauma center, one of only a few in the region, meaning from day one, he was thrown into real-life, high-stakes medicine, seeing trauma patients, emergencies, and critical cases. That placement wasn't just a job. It was putting him on the map, because BUMC isn't just any hospital. It's among the top-ranked medical centers in Texas and the Dallas-Fort Worth region. As of 2025 rankings, Baylor University Medical is ranked 2 in Dallas-Fort Worth and 3 in the entire state of Texas. Working in the trauma center meant that Trent didn't get a slow, easy start. He was right there, watching trauma teams in action, witnessing critical care, surgeries, emergencies, and he loved it. But he feels pulled to do more.
Well, I was used to carrying out the orders that were given. I wanted to be on the other side. I wanted to be the guy that was deciding what was going to happen with the patient, right? So that's really what prompted me to go back to school to become a nurse practitioner. I chose to go the family nurse practitioner route, FNP, specifically for the reason that it's the broadest, meaning I can treat anywhere from babies all the way up to old folks and anywhere in between. Get started with school, and then that's when I started doing my rotations with this doctor. At some point along that path, he asked if I would eventually, after a couple years being out of school, want to take over the practice. That way he could retire. I said, absolutely, this sounds awesome. I would love to. So from that conversation on, that was how we operated. We began telling staff that this was going to happen. We literally began rebranding the practice. Honestly, a really exciting feeling. You know, I wasn't even out of school, and this is already happening. I graduate, and you know, I've been working with him for several months beyond what was required. Take my test and pass, which means that now I'm actually certified nurse practitioner. And that next day went in there like, all right, man, time to do this thing. You know, let's go. I'm licensed now. I'm certified. Let's rock and roll. Let's actually sign a contract, and I'm ready to get paid. I just finished up school. Man, he pulled a complete 180, and he pulled that rug out from under me. He flipped a switch to the side of him that I had never seen, and essentially tried to treat me like a whipped dog, and was trying to belittle me and degrade me in any way that he seemed to know possible. It's very shocking, because up until this point, the man had essentially put me on a pedestal, and now he's saying, you know, really mean and hurtful things to me, and trying to not go through with everything we'd been working towards. So I told him, I was like, hey, I don't know what is going on with you, but this ain't happening. I'm going to let you take a breather, man. in fact, I know I said it a lot more aggressively than that, but essentially that's what was said. And I said, I'll be back tomorrow.
Give the gift of calm. Dear Sweet One lullabies are personalized, astrology-inspired stories set to soft, soothing music, each one handcrafted to bring peace and connection. Whether you're welcoming a new baby, searching for a meaningful gift, or simply craving a moment of stillness, these lullabies are a beautiful way to say you are loved. Visit ChangeHappenedPodcast.com to order yours today. So, after years of work he had poured into this one practice, he told me, very honestly, he had all of his proverbial eggs in one basket. They had long-term plans. He had no updated resume, no backup plan, no second income lined up, and he had a family depending on him, and suddenly, everything collapsed. He went in the next day hoping it was all a misunderstanding, but he was met with the exact same resistance. And while Trent and I talked candidly about what he thinks was really going on behind the scenes, the specifics aren't the heart of the story. What matters is that it wasn't about him. It wasn't about his work ethic or his skills or even the patients. The truth, at least the truth that makes the most sense, is that some longtime staff weren't thrilled about Trent's arrival, especially the part where he'd be close enough to the books to notice things that maybe weren't being handled with integrity. You can read between the lines. But still, this was his life, his career, his stability, and it shattered in a single conversation. For a few days, Trent did what any human would do. He melted into the sorrow of it all, the shock, the embarrassment, the anger, the fear, and the now whats. And then, almost as if the fog had lifted, he had a brilliant realization. He was a licensed nurse practitioner in several states across the U.S. That means he can practice independently without a supervising physician. Texas, however, is not one of those states. And after what had just happened, after being burned by someone he trusted, he knew one thing for sure. If he was going to start over, he wanted full autonomy, full anonymity, and a clean slate. And he knew exactly where that could happen: New Mexico. Earlier in our conversation, Trent had mentioned that his heart had already been pulled towards addiction recovery, especially working with people struggling with opioid dependence. And New Mexico painfully, urgently needed help. Here are some of the real numbers. New Mexico has one of the highest drug overdose death rates in the United States. In 2022 alone, the state reported over 1,000 overdose deaths, with opioids involved in more than 70% of them. Rural communities and Native communities have been especially hit hard. Fentanyl-related deaths in New Mexico have increased more than 600% over the past 5 years. And in many areas, patients wait weeks or months for access to addiction treatment or medication-assisted therapy. The crisis is real. It is urgent, and Trent saw that urgency not as a warning to run, but as a call to step in. So he sits down with his wife, and it didn't take much convincing. She believed in him, she believed in his mission, and she believed that if this was the road forward, they would walk it together. So they packed up their family, left the hurt, the betrayal, and the broken plans behind, and moved to New Mexico, where Trent would open his own practice and begin to save lives on his own terms.
So I knew that I wanted to open a practice, so I am doing house calls. Again, I'm a family nurse practitioner, and I'm going into these homes to help these people out. So what this is boots on the ground, research, and collecting data. And I am seeing substance abuse everywhere. What resources do these folks have? What options do they have? Where can they go? What's even available? I treated some of these patients when I was at school. That is not what I went to school for. By no means was I an expert at that point, but I had seen it, I had learned it, and I knew that I really liked this patient population because I latched onto them while I was in school. Like, I can do this, and I can solve this problem, and I can make a difference in this community, and I can change these lives, and I can save those people. And that's exactly what we did. So just a few months after that, I opened my first practice in Roswell, New Mexico, named it Renew Health. And now we have multiple locations. We serve the entire state, and we've successfully treated and changed and saved thousands of lives.
When Trent tells you he opened his practice with the intention of saving lives, it's not a slogan. It's the mission behind everything he does. And the place where that mission becomes alive is Renew Health. Renew Health isn't one of those cold, clinical, take a number treatment centers. It's a practice built on the belief that addiction recovery requires compassion, science, dignity, and a real human connection. Their entire model is designed around the simple truth: people heal when they feel seen, supported, and safe. Inside Renew Health, addiction recovery isn't treated as a single problem. It's treated as a whole person experience. Trent and his team use evidence-based practices like medication-assisted treatment to stabilize the body, while therapy, counseling, and community support work together to stabilize the rest of the person's life. And because they serve communities across New Mexico, many rural, many underserved, they've built a telehealth system so people can access care from wherever they are. Sometimes that means someone getting help from their kitchen table. Sometimes it means a mother finally finding support without needing childcare. Sometimes it means someone who has tried everything else finally feeling hope again. And if you really want to understand what Renew Health does, you listen to the people whose lives have walked through the doorway. Here are just a few of those stories that reflect the heart of their work. I thought withdrawal was going to kill me. Trent didn't just treat me. He talked to me like I mattered. That was the first moment in a long time I believed I could actually get better. And another person shared, I had been in and out of clinics before, but Renew Health was the first place where I didn't feel judged. They treated me like a whole person, not a problem to fix. My kids say they got their mom back. That's what this place gave me. And one more, the kind that stays with you. I joined their telehealth program during the darkest year of my life. I was isolated, ashamed, and convinced I didn't deserve help. Trent's team reached through a video screen and reminded me I wasn't alone. I've been sober for 8 months now. Renew Health saved my life. These aren't statistics. These are human beings rediscovering their worth because someone took the time to meet them where they were. And that's what Trent built Renew Health to do. Not to judge, not to lecture, but to guide people back to themselves. But there was something I was curious about. Something Trent says his patients ask him too. And eventually, I just said it out loud. Trent, I don't mean to sound callous, but you've never struggled with addiction. You've never had it show up in your immediate circle. You don't have some traumatic backstory that pushed you into this work. So how do you relate to your patients? How do you help them without the lived experience? He didn't flinch. He didn't get defensive. He understood exactly what I was asking because he'd been asked it before.
I get asked questions often, especially by my patients, because they want to know, are you a recovering addict yourself? Have you ever taken this medication that you're suggesting to me? Have you ever had to go and do this counseling or whatever this treatment that you're pushing on me? The answer is no. It's like, okay, then what credibility do you have to then recommend this to me? And I'm like, well, I can understand that question and that mindset. My argument is this. One, I'm here because I want to be, and nobody else is paying me. I started this business and invested a lot of money in this with absolutely zero guarantee I would ever get a return in it. So that right there is showing that you care. Secondly, if you want to talk about experience, I have personally successfully treated thousands of patients. So when you look at it like that, the amount of lives that I've seen impacted, and I don't just have patients that come in, I have family members that come in, I have friends that come in, I have bosses that come in that say, hey, you got to help this guy out. Otherwise, I have no choice. He's gone. I got to fire him. So to see the impact that it has, the ripple effect, the community and the society that are around these people, to see what that change does. So that's my argument there. I'm here because I want to be.
And in that moment, I understood him. I understood why so many patients described him with words like steady, kind, and safe. He isn't trying to relate through similarity. He relates through humanity. And as Trent and I ended our conversation, it was a little different than I usually do with most of my interviews. I think it was because we weren't just talking about his story anymore. We were deep in the story of what our country is facing as a whole: addiction, recovery, relapse, hope, the impossible choices people make when they're desperate, and the opioid crisis in particular, even though that's not the only addiction Trent treats. This addiction in particular has carved such a painful path through families, towns, entire communities, and I see it firsthand in mine, and I know Trent sees it in his daily. We started talking about the stigma that settles over families like shadows when someone they love turns to drugs. How the parents, the siblings, the partners often carry just as much pain. How easy it is for the outside world to judge, assume, and to label. And then we got into this part no one really talks about. How hard it is to find your way back, not just to sobriety, but to yourself. We talked about what it feels like for someone who has walked that dark tunnel over and over again, to try one more time, to show up again, to rebuild trust with the people who love them. They have hurt so many times, they don't know what to believe anymore. We talked about how shame becomes its own prison, and how relapse can feel like proof that you're not worth saving, even when that's the farthest thing from the truth. This is the part of the advocacy work that Trent does. Not just treating the addiction, not just reducing the harm, but educating families, supporting loved ones, and fighting against the stigma that keeps people locked in silence. And as we wrapped up, I asked Trent if there was anything he wanted to leave listeners with, anything he wished every family, every friend, every person who has ever loved someone with addiction could hear. And this is what he shared in his closing thoughts.
Bringing attention to the fact that this is a problem, but you're not lost. You're not without help. There's a lot of help out there. We need to change the way that society as a whole is viewing these people. But then these folks that are struggling, we need to also change the way that they see themselves.
He is so right. We do need to change the way people are seen, heard, and helped in this world. There are people out there today who want help, people who want to be helped, people who are struggling quietly, carrying shame on their backs, and all it might take is one kind word, one moment of compassion to change the whole trajectory of their life. Because here's the truth Trent sees every day. They already know how they feel inside. They already know what they're doing is hurting them. They already know they don't want to be this version of themselves anymore. The question isn't why won't they change? The question is, what is it going to take for them to see themselves the way we see them? To remember the good in them, the love still living inside of them, the light we are all born with before life, circumstances, trauma, or biology dimmed it. So let me ask you, the listener. Can you be the light someone needs to see today? Because sometimes a person doesn't need saving. They just need reminding. Reminding that they matter. Reminding that they are not broken beyond repair. Reminding that there is a path forward, even if they haven't stepped onto it yet. Trent believes this so deeply that he wrote a book called The Recovery Tool Belt, a guide filled with simple, compassionate tools for everyone struggling with addiction, or for anyone who loves someone who is. This could be the first step toward healing for you, or for someone you care about. And even if it sits untouched on a coffee table for a while, that's okay. Sometimes healing begins simply by knowing the help is there when you're ready. I'll put all of Trent's links, including the book, right in the show notes so you can grab your copy and share some of Trent's light out in the world, as well as at changehappenpodcast.com. And if you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please hear this. There are resources available. There is hope, and you are worthy of help. You are not alone in this. You are not beyond repair, and your story is not over. And if today's episode made you think of someone, a friend, a sibling, a partner, a parent, someone who could benefit from hearing Trent's story, please share this episode with them. You never know whose life might shift because of a little hope, a little light, or a reminder that they matter. This world is desperate for compassion. Let's spread the hope we all need more of today. Ready for today's Change Challenge question? Here it is. What hospital did Trent work at right out of college after becoming a nurse? Head over to changehappenpodcast.com for your chance to win your choice of a super soft Change Happened tee or cozy trucker hat. This month's drawing will be December 16th. If this episode spoke to your heart, I'd love for you to visit changehappenpodcast.com to join our monthly mailing list. It's also where stories like this continue, with blog reflections, more about each guest, and ways you can support the show. And if you've got 30 seconds, leaving a review or 5 stars helps more people like you find stories like this. Think of it as paying for your coffee at the local coffee shop. Change Happened, Then What? Is written, edited, and produced by me, Heather Holt, with the loyal background vocals from my 2 sidekicks, Waylon and Dalton. Until next time, keep smiling, and maybe let your dog produce your next big idea.
There's always a reason to always choose joy. There's something deeper that the world can't destroy. Smile when you think you can't. Smile, get up and dance. Smile, there's a bigger plan. The storm only lasts for a while. So smile.